Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be making this very cute wrap top that you can see on your screen. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So I already have my pattern paper on my table. So to know the amount of pattern paper you'll be needing, you are going to use your bust circumference divided by 4. Then you're going to add 6 or 7 inches to that measurement. So from the other end of my pattern paper, I'm going to mark 6 inches and I'm going to connect the dots into a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to start taking my basic bodice measurements. So I'm going to place my tape from the line where I marked my 6 inches, and I'm going to take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I will indicate that with a dot. On that dot, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll slant into the neckline area like this. I'm going to place my tape on my shoulder line like this, and I'm going to take the distance from my shoulder to my chest line, which is 8 inches. I'm going to indicate that. After doing that, I'm going to make sure that I have 8 inches, the same 8 inches that I have on my shoulder line. I'm going to make sure I have it on my chest line, and then I'm going to connect the dot on the shoulder line to meet the 8 inches mark that I just made, just like this. And then I'm going to rule a straight line across for my armhole to sit. So after doing that, guys, I'm going to measure the straight line that I have, and I'm going to mark the middle point. So what I have on this straight line is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I will indicate that with a dot. On that dot, I'm going to go in by half an inch. So this is for my front armhole. I'll go in by half an inch. I'll also indicate that with a dot, and I'm going to use my ruler to connect from that point to cover out my armhole, just like this. The next thing I'll do is to place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to place that on my chest line, which is my 8 inches mark. And on the base of this pattern paper, I'll take my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll also indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'll connect the dot on my chest line to meet the dot on the base of this pattern paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch for my stitching allowance. I'll add 1 inch on the chest line and 1 inch on the waistline, and then I'll connect my dot like this. So after doing that, I'm going to mark my neckline. For the width, I'll be taking 3 inches, and for the depth, I'll be taking 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect using my ruler like this. After placing my measurements, guys, next thing I'll do is to go ahead and cut the armhole, the side and the shoulder slope. I'm not going to cut out the neckline because I want to use this pattern to cut out the back first before we work on the front. So I'm going to fold in the 6 inches mark, just like you see me doing, and I'm going to place this pattern on my fabric folded into 2, and I'll cut out the back. So remember, your center back should be on fold. So after cutting, I'll cut out my shoulder slope. I'll remove the pattern paper, and I'll go down by 1 inch, which is my neck depth. After doing that, I'm going to connect to meet the shoulder line, and I'll go ahead and cut. I'm doing this again on the fabric because I did not do it on the pattern paper. I didn't want to mess up the pattern paper. So after cutting, guys, we have our back piece. Like I said, the center back should be on fold. I forgot to mention the length of my top is 18 inches. So let's go ahead and work on the front. So I went ahead to place my pattern paper back. So the 6 inches that we marked earlier is going to be what we'll be using for the wrap top. So I'm going to connect from the neckline because the front does not have a neckline. I'm going to connect from that point to meet the point at the base of the pattern paper, and I'll go ahead and cut out. So this is what we'll be using for the front. We are going to cut out 2 pieces for this. So I'm going to place it on my fabric folded into 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and trace out what I have on the pattern paper. I'll also go ahead and use this pattern paper to also cut my lining. So if you don't have enough fabric for your lining, it's okay, you can use your bias tape to turn your neckline. So guys, this is my back piece. I went ahead to cut out a lining piece for the back. I'm going to go ahead and pin all the way around. After pinning, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sew. So I'll be sewing the neckline, the base, the sides. The only place I'm not going to sew is the armhole, because I'm going to turn everything inside out through my armhole. So guys, I forgot to trim the front armhole, so please don't forget to do that. You have to go in by 1/2 inch on the armhole area, just like we did while we were drafting. So these are my 2 front piece. I have 2 main fabric and I have 2 lining piece. So I'm going to place them on each other, right sides facing each other, and then I'll go ahead and pin all the way around. And before I sew, I already went ahead to cut out my rope. Okay, this is the rope I'll be using to wrap my top. I cut out 2 inches. I sewed in 1/2 inch and I turned it inside out. So the length of this rope is 48 inches, and I have 2 of this rope. So what I'll do is to lift my lining piece up like this, and then I'm going to place the rope on the tip of the front like this. So if you don't understand, just look at what I am doing. I'm going to pin the rope down, and then I'll cover it up with my lining. I'll repeat the same thing for the other piece. So I'm going to pin my rope just like you see me doing, and then I'm going to use my lining to cover the main fabric, making sure that my rope is inside the top. I'll go ahead and pin all the way around. Like I said before, I'll pin and then I'll sew the base, the chest area, the sides, the shoulder. The only place I'll not sew is the armhole. After sewing, I'll go ahead and turn inside out. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew the back and the lining piece together, and I also went ahead to turn it inside out, and this is what I have. For the front also, I went ahead to sew and I turned inside out. So this is what I have. What I'm going to do is to bring back my back piece, and I'm going to place the 2 front piece on the back piece, right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to sew the shoulders together. So guys, I've gone ahead to do that, and this is what I have. So to cut out my sleeves, I'm going to measure around my arm. Well, I don't really need this, but if you want your sleeve, the armhole area to be fitted, measure around your armhole. After measuring, what I had was 16 inches. So this is the fabric for my sleeves, and the length of my fabric is 16 inches. So I don't have enough fabric, so my sleeves is not going to be a long sleeve like the one you can see on the thumbnail. Yeah, so the fabric is folded into 2. I'm going to go down by 5 inches from the opened edge of this fabric, and then on the closed edge I'm going to go inward by 3 inches, and then I'm going to work my way around it just like you see me doing. If you look at the picture we are following, you see that the shoulder area of the sleeves is puffy, meaning the sleeves was gathered on the shoulder area. The measurements I took on the top, on the armhole area of the top, was 16 inches. So if you want your sleeves to be fitted, if you don't want to gather it, you can go ahead and place your tape just like you see me doing, and then you mark 8 inches and then you cut out the remaining part. But then I want to gather it, I want that puffiness on the shoulder area of my top. So this is more than okay for me, so I'm going to go ahead and cut. So if you want yours to be fitted, if you don't want to gather it, make sure you cut the exact measurements that you have on your armhole area, the armhole area of your top. So I'm going to place the sleeves on the other fabric, and then I'm going to cut out. After doing that, I'm going to pin the sleeves to the armhole area of my top. So what I'll do is to pin the end to the end. So just look at what I'm doing. I'm pinning the end of the sleeves to the end of the armhole area of my top. After doing that, I'll pin the other end to the other armhole area. So if you don't understand, just look at what I'm doing, okay? I'll also go ahead and pin the remaining part of the sleeves. After pinning, whatever I have left on the sleeves, I'm going to gather on the joining on that shoulder area. So I'm just going to fold them on each other, and then I'm going to gather. That way, by the time I'm done sewing, that part of the sleeves is going to stand. I don't know if you understand. So guys, after pinning the sleeves in place, I also went ahead to cut out a band for this sleeve. So you can use an elastic band just like what you can see on the thumbnail, but like I said, I didn't have enough fabric. That's why my sleeves is short, so I went ahead to cut out a band. The length of this band is 2 inches and the wideness of the band is my round sleeve measurements plus 2 inches seam allowance. I'm going to gather the base of the sleeves on this band. So I'm going to do that on my sewing machine. I'll sew the sleeves in place. I'll also sew the other sleeves in place. So guys, I've gone ahead to do that. This is my band. I went ahead to gather the base of the sleeves on the band. So what I'm going to do is to pin the top together, right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the stitching allowance that I added to my pattern paper. I'm going to use it to sew the top in place. Okay, so I left 1 inch for my stitching allowance. I'm going to use the 1 inch to sew from the sleeves to meet the base of the top. So guys, I've gone ahead to do that, and I turned my top inside out. The next thing I'll do is to go ahead and give it a good press. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next one.